Hi, this is Ned Siegfried from Siegfried and Jensen. As proud sponsors of BeliefCast, we hope you are inspired by Todd's weekly podcasts, which contain so many courageous stories of recovery and personal growth. Remember, it's not what happened in the past that matters, it's what happens in the future. We invite you all to work hard and be optimistic about your future. Enjoy today's podcast.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Todd Sylvester with the Todd Inspires BeliefCast. Once again, thanks for tuning in and for believing in me. I love you guys so much. We have quite a few followers and listeners now, and it means the world to me. Keep sharing, keep subscribing, keep giving us good ratings because it really makes a difference. And I know it's not just me, it's these amazing guests that I bring on. And I also have to give a shout out to our sponsors. We have Maury Nutrition. They have a calm drink for anxiety. They're the official drink of the BeliefCast now. Siegfried and Jensen, Wasatch Recovery, and Thread Wallets. You guys have just been so good to me and allow me to grow this audience and grow the message and get it to the people that need to hear it. So thank you so much. And today we are joined with another amazing person, Kamille Cox. Kamille, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, you are a reoccurring guest on Good Things Utah, and I get to see you there quite a bit. And I think that's kind of how we kind of got to know each other a little bit through
Absolutely,
that, right?
Yeah.
And they're great people, as you well know, and they love you, and they, and you do a great job.
Oh, you're so
And
nice.
So it's cool that we've kind of have a little fun there on that set together.
Oh yeah,
know?
they're like
Right?
such hype people.
I know.
They're the nicest, like hype gang.
Totally. I always walk out going, man, I feel better.
I know. Isn't
Right?
that amazing?
Yeah,
it's so true.
truly amazing. So, well, let me give you a little background on Kamille. She's an accomplished entrepreneur and the co-creator and CEO of Melkit. Did I say that correct?
Yep.
Okay. A pioneering company at the forefront of natural and clean skincare, and it's for everybody. It's not just for women. It's for men. It's for kids. It's for babies.
Yep.
That's the beautiful thing. All natural, beautiful stuff. Kamille is driven by a profound passion for personal growth and lifelong learning. She firmly believes in the transformative power of continuous self-improvement. She's big into her faith, fitness, and family. Not necessarily in that order, but right?
Faith first.
Yeah. But your this commitment that you show and reflect to the world is showing when you strive towards your optimal self and fulfilling individual missions to make meaningful contributions to the world, which you do. What really stands out to me about you is, again, just your passion to make a difference. And I think, with your own family, but then even just with everyone you come in contact with. Is that a fair statement, do you think?
Oh, I think you're being really generous. I would like that to be how people view me. So that's really, really kind of you. That's my goal.
Yeah.
Right? As totally imperfect as I am, but that's the hope.
Yeah, sure. Well, so we're going to get into your company here in a minute, but I want people to get to know you better. I mean, you're not your company. Who you are makes you good at this company you put together. So let's talk about you. Tell us where you grew up and then maybe a little bit about your family and childhood.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah,
let's get into it. I am, well, first of all, so happy to be here. So humbled to be here on what incredible podcast.
Thank you.
It's just so cool to be around like-minded people who are continuously wanting to grow and thrive and work through their stuff.
Yeah.
Not everyone is like that.
Right.
And I'm sure all of your listeners are people like that. Like they want to grow. They're looking for more tools to get them and to help them navigate through all the difficulties. So super stoked. I love just the energy. It's so invigorating being here with you.
Thank you.
But yeah, so I was born in Las Vegas, Nevada, baby, almost right on the strip.
Really?
Yeah. And so I have 5 brothers and a mom and dad. Great childhood. All the Christmases we're out there playing on the streets, rollerblading, no snow.
Yeah, right. Where do you fall in line?
I am 4 of 6.
4 of 6.
So I kind of share the middle, right? I guess in the family sibling order, if you're not first or last, you're just middle kid,
you're
right?
the middle kid. Yeah. You're right there. Yeah.
And I love all the books that they have on the family order because it's so true. And I think it is so helpful. If you're the first or the baby, there's some very specific things. And if you're the middle, you kind of, even seeing with my own kids, there's actually a hilarious comedy sketch by Seth Meyers. Love him.
Yeah.
And he was
hilarious.
the third kid is the funniest. You just pull out their stool, pull out the blender. They're just so resourceful at 2. The first one, they just wait there and ask for a smoothie.
Yeah, right.
So it's as a middle kid, you just you're a little bit thicker skinned.
Yeah.
Because nobody really cares. you know, everything's already been done by the first kid. You know, you become a little bit more independent because nobody cares.
Right.
I mean, of course everyone cares, I guess.
Yeah.
But, you know, like,
so true.
So being the middle kid, especially with boys, has been really interesting. And the stuff I've picked up on has been interesting. But yeah, so lots of boys. And even on my dad's side, I am the only girl, like the only granddaughter on that side too. So I have been surrounded by men by my entire life.
Your entire life.
And so sometimes with God, I'm like, what do you want me to learn here? Because sometimes like a sister could really help me out.
Totally. Well, yeah, and I can imagine 5 brothers. Like, how was that? I mean, because again, not only were you in the middle, but you've got 5 brothers. I got 5 brothers. So I mean, I feel like when I look at now, I'm like, I don't know if it was nature or nurture, but I picked up a lot of masculine qualities. For better or for worse. Right. Like I said, I'm like, I don't know if that's just how I was or if that was just because of my upbringing or what. But like, I feel like for a long time, even throughout high school, probably to a negative extent, like I just kind of was like more like just the guy's girl. And it wasn't later in life that I kind of really stepped into like my more feminine energy. Okay. But maybe there was a good reason. Maybe there were some tools I learned with some of that. And not being afraid and feeling like I know I'm equal. And, you know, some of these other things that I feel like maybe some women feel a little bit more intimidated sometimes with men. Yeah. So I feel like I said, double-edged sword. There's some good things. There's some bad things. But like, so growing up with them, they were super fun. We were just like lion cubs. Like we just were together all the time, hung out all the time. Like we never took friends on vacations. It was just always such a fun family community, such great parents. Yeah. My parents love both of their stories and where they came from. They had such convictions and passed it on to us. And they just did their best. No parent's perfect. Right. But they did their best to give us their best. Right. And to that, I'm like truly so grateful. But growing up with boys, I like played football when I was in 6th grade. We won the state championships. I had braids coming out of my helmet, but my nails were done. I had butterfly clips, you know, so I've always just been this weird, like my husband's always like, you're such a contradiction. Like you're just the weirdest mix. Yeah. So, you know, things like that. It was fun. It was fun growing up with boys. Yeah, I bet. So, you know, you mentioned your parents, you know, instilled in you these convictions and tried to teach you certain things. What were some of the biggest lessons do you feel like you've learned from your mom and dad? You know, my mom and dad they teach by example, I think a lot, like in their actions, and especially with their faith. So I think both of them didn't grow up really with Christ being like the center of their life until later. They each had these really hard circumstances that came to them, and then where they chose Christ. And for us, I'm just so grateful because they introduced Christ to me by their example, and still I had my own path and things I had to figure out, but how cool to always go back and look at them and see their choices. Like actions speak so much louder than words. For sure. Right? Like you can talk and say, but the people actions are so important. Yeah, it's kind of like if I was, you know, I'm smoking and telling my kids don't smoke. Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of like, well, that's a mixed message there. Totally. Right? No, my kids hold me so accountable to that because we talk about that all the time. Yeah. Like even caffeine, they're like, oh, so we can't have caffeine, but like you have a Coke? Yeah. Like, you know, it's funny. When I first got clean and sober, my mentor at the time said, hey, what do you want to do for a living? You know, now that you're changing your life around, I'm like, I want to be a motivational speaker. I want to help people, you know, and I didn't know what that exactly looked like. He said, really? And I said, yeah, really. And he goes, you know what will be the hardest thing for you to do? I'm like, what? And he goes, practice what you preach. And I understood what he meant. Okay. I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. And then I found myself, I'd be out there speaking and I'd be like, oh, I'm telling these people to do these things. I'm not even doing them. Yep. And I'm like, he's right. It is so hard. But if you can get there, man, the message, it's like be the message. Be the message. Don't just say the message, be it. Be the message, like, totally. And that's really what you're saying, right? Oh, for sure. I mean, we talk about that constantly. Like, talk is so cheap. Yeah. You know, and it's so, and as a parent, it really does hit home because you're like, my kids are watching me. I mean, I have so many pictures of me walking out we're going somewhere and my daughter goes and changes in the exact same outfit. Really? And so I've just like, those have been so big to me to be like, she's watching me. Yeah. Like I have to be paying attention to what I'm doing, how I'm talking to myself. Yeah. Like, especially after having a baby. We just had a baby 3 weeks ago. Congratulations, by the way. Thank you so much. Our sixth baby. You can't even tell you had a baby. It's crazy. You're so nice. But, but so like through the process, right, your body is torn apart. It's got to come back together. Yeah, right. And so they're so funny because they're asking questions like, so is your tummy always going to be big like that? Is it going to be squishy, you know? And these are great moments for us to be like, my body took 9 months to stretch out. My body looks so great. I'm so proud of my body. Yeah. And it's going to take
9 months for it to go back, and that's okay. Yeah. And, just teaching them to have like that expectation and patience and love for your body instead of being like, oh, in 10 pounds, I'll look better. Or, this just drives me crazy. Yeah. Let's teach. Why would my body go back in 3 weeks? Right. So I think even stuff like that, like that's the action, right? Gotcha. Like, are you talking to yourself kindly? Are you giving yourself grace? Are you saying sorry when you need to say sorry? Yeah. It's such a big thing. So we talk about that constantly. Actions speak everything. Nothing else matters. Like you could say it, you could talk all day.
Yeah. You're very involved, aren't you, with your kids? Meaning you're really not, it's easy to have kids per se, but it seems like you're someone and your husband are really involved making sure, like you said, we're teaching these kids to be good. Yes. Is that fair?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I'm such an intentional person. I feel like as I've gotten older, like the things in my house, everything really means something. Yeah. Like if something has like a negative word or something, like why do I have that book? Like we gotta get rid of it. Right, I'm so intentional. So absolutely with our kids, we try so hard to sit and just be really intentional with them. I truly believe the most important work is the work you do in your house, especially my kids are 9 and younger. So at these young pivotal ages, when we have them in our home, I want them to be able to mess up and make mistakes. And I want to be there to help coach them through it, to help be the support system, give them tools. So as they get older and they're dealing with even heavier, harder circumstances, that we've practiced some of these tools and put them into effect. Yeah. So parenting, best thing that's ever happened. It's changed me as a human. My husband's so great. He's so patient, so loving, so involved. But it's just like I said, I feel like it's really the most important. I'm here for them. That's my main job right now.
No, and I know you're passionate about that, and it shows in what you do.
No, you're
going back though to younger years, were you you're a pretty driven person. You kind of know what you want, kind of thing. Were you that way when you were younger too? And having brothers, did that maybe kind of cultivate that in you?
Absolutely. I think for sure, because I've always been super competitive. So for example, like why I started to play football, it kind of seemed like, oh, the boys were always doing these sports and playing football. And why do I have to sit out? I could do that just as good as they could, So I think that naturally did give me that competitive, like, you don't put baby in a corner,
Yeah, right.
Like, I'm not just going to sit here. Like, I can do anything. And, oh, how fun. Like, I'm not afraid to try anything now, because of that. And like I said, I don't know everyone's world. So it's so hard. I don't want to put a vague description out there, but I have noticed sometimes women to maybe be a little bit more timid. And I feel like growing up with them, I don't know, I did feel equal. And it just gave me kind of this edge of like I said, don't tell me I can't do anything. Why couldn't I do anything? Because sometimes I guess coming from a more patriarchal, type society has kind of evened that out for me. So maybe that's not even a thing anymore. But in my generation, that still kind of was.
Yeah.
Or it is, right?
Yeah. So did you, when you're in high school and getting ready to graduate, that kind of thing, where was your mindset at that time? Did you kind of know what you wanted to do? Did you know you wanted to be a mom? What was going on in your mind? And I get it, maybe you didn't even know. Most kids don't. Yeah. I was just curious if you kind of knew where you were headed right after high school.
So my parents were taught by example, such good people, but I don't remember having any sit down conversations of like, what do you want to do? Let's think about it. Like I said, when there's so many kids, sometimes it's just hard to have those sit down and conversations. For sure, yeah. And so by the time I got into high school, I guess I feel like I had so fun, super motivated, was usually always the best at whatever I did. So that was just always in me. Like I was very athletic, love that type of thing. But as high school went and then college went, I feel like I got a little bit more lost. I went to college, I went to Utah Valley University, I had a scholarship to cheerlead. Oh, okay. And so that was so fun. Love that.
And cheerleading's no joke. People hear, cheerleading. Man, you guys work your tails off.
We work our tails off. I got dropped on my face. I broke my jaw.
Oh, before. Did you really?
Yeah. Like when I was in sixth grade, couldn't eat for like months, those Slim Fast shakes. So yeah, no, cheerleading is super fun. And that was such a fun, moving your body, like whether it be gymnastics, working out, like it's just the most empowering thing. Yeah. Being in control of your body is, I think one of the most special gifts if we can get in touch with our bodies at a young age and find the empowerment of learning strength and control. Yeah. Super special. So anyway, so that always served me. I look back at cheerleading and I'm just like, that really has still served me today and helped with my fitness and and happiness. But so when I went there, when I went to college, I was still just kind of lost. And I would say even with my faith, I was just like, I just don't know.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know if I should even say this, but I'm like, at that point, I kind of was just pretty. Like, I remember my one drill team teacher, she's like, you'll never be anything but pretty. Because I was always late, like chronically to practice. And she's like, you'll never be anything but pretty. And I still remember that. And I don't know if I'm still mad about that because it was so discouraging and it was in front of like the whole class.
Wow. See, and I appreciate you saying that, actually, because you're just being real and honest. This is what happened. This is what was said. But you took it as like that was a painful thing to hear, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Is
oh,
that
yeah.
right?
Absolutely. Like
it wasn't like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. Oh,
it was more
that's
like,
all I want to
oh,
be.
really? I'm more than that.
Yes.
And that's where that competitive side comes out. Like, what are you saying?
Totally. Like, and so at that point, I do remember like, oh, that's all. Well, it was kind of like, oh, maybe that is all I am. Maybe that's all I have to offer. And gosh, I'm like, sorry, we're kind of going all over the place.
No, you're good.
But I'm like, even at this point in my life, I feel like that was the only thing I had to value was being attractive or somewhat attractive, right? And so I remember them saying that, and I'm like, maybe that is all I have to offer. So then, therefore, I feel like that almost empowered a limited belief that that was all I was, and that was where my validation came from.
Right.
So then, almost it's like every day, if someone doesn't tell you you're pretty, then maybe I'm not pretty today. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, long story short, to kind of move on where I'm trying to move forward with this, it wasn't until years later of therapy and energy work and counseling that I got really good advice where they're like, do not let anybody validate you but you and God. The most powerful thing, most powerful like my star, like to navigate by. It's so true because that is your only constant. So when I'm out there looking for validation, like, oh, all I am is pretty. So people aren't telling me I'm pretty, which not everyone's going to tell you you're pretty every day, whether you are or you're not.
Yeah.
You start to lose sight of like who you are. And it's so toxic. So I think as soon as I learned that tool of like, my constant is me and God, and that is what I have to go through. And so back to my teacher, I'm sorry, I'm taking you all over the place.
You're good. This is good stuff.
But back to my teacher, when she called me that like I said, that kind of emboldened that limiting belief.
Yeah.
And then so as I went through high school and college, that's kind of just still what I thought. So then if I had gained weight or any of that just took my self-esteem away because that's what I felt like all I had to offer. And so it wasn't until I moved to LA, was modeling, because that, again, following my belief system of the only thing I have to offer.
Yeah.
And then came back, long story with my husband. Our love story is wild, but we'll skip that part, at least for now. When I came back, I really had to dig deep and figure out what my purpose is and what I wanted to offer. And I wanted to be smart. I wanted to be more than just what my looks were telling people, right? And I wanted to be knowledgeable and I wanted to help people. So that was always in me, but sometimes I just didn't feel like it was possible for me to be more of that. And sometimes the world, I feel like, validates physical attractiveness more than that.
Well, and that's the power of a belief system, man. It can keep us just locked into the same thing over and over and over and over again.
Right.
Changing that is difficult.
It was so difficult.
Yeah.
So learning, and then I think I had trials come that made me be like, okay, this totally doesn't matter. And it made me really dig deep into finding validation elsewhere. And obviously I feel like that was God for me. And finding what my purpose is and what I have to offer and what my unique mission here is on earth. Because nobody wants another Kamille. We don't need another Todd. You know what we need? We need everybody to be who they were meant to be.
Yeah.
And I feel like the only way you can really do that is get rid of outside validation. Forget the dance teacher that thinks you're this and that. Everyone has a different version of yourself. There's a million Kamille versions walking around who've met me. Yeah. Does that mean that's who I am?
Right.
No, that's people's experiences and perspectives. So like really being able to harness, okay, like who am I? Who do I want to be? I know God loves me regardless of what I do, and what gifts do I have and can I offer and navigate through that?
I love that.
That was a really long-winded answer.
Very, very well said. I loved it. Well, so obviously your faith means a lot to you. Talk about that a little bit. Just you said you weren't quite sure as a kid, which most kids don't have a clue.
Yeah.
How did that kind of like solidify more into your life, and why is it so important to you?
Oh, I love this question. Because again, my parents taught me such good values, and they taught by example. But I had a moment where I needed to go experience everything counter to what I was taught. And I wanted to experience it. So I went out and I experienced it all. You know, I was like literally in LA, just like the stories I have are wild. And so sometimes I'm like, I've lived 9 different lives. Like, is that crazy? I mean, like I literally was almost on Vanderpump Rules. Like I can't tell you how many times I was like so involved with the craziest just things you would never guess. And so I was in LA doing everything counter pretty much, and I just wasn't happy. And but I'm so grateful for that time that I did, because it made me appreciate some of the values that my parents instilled, things that I totally took for granted. I didn't appreciate. I didn't understand why they were there. And then it was, sometimes I feel like in our culture, because I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and I feel like sometimes the culture was more based on like, make sure you're wearing sleeves, you know, do this stuff that really has nothing to do with the doctrine of Christ.
Right.
But sure. I mean, I see what they're trying to do. It's positive, but it did kind of get turned on its head and maybe become a negative thing of like what modesty is and things like that. So obviously that's like a fully loaded phrase, but it wasn't until I'm so passionate about the scriptures, Old Testament, New Testament, Book of Mormon, like all of it. And I think all of them come together through the history of the world and give such incredible lessons. How easy it is for us to forget where we've come from or where the world has been and where we want to go, you know? And so I am so passionate about teaching my children the scriptures. And even like the youth today. And I think everyone should have I think if we all, whatever religion or whatever belief system you have, I think if we all come together to Christ, it's going to be amazing. You know, and so I am so passionate about the scriptures. We spend so much time with my kids. And I think sometimes with kids, people don't give kids enough credit to think they can understand it. You would not believe how well my kids understand the scriptures.
That's awesome.
We spend dedicated time weekly on that, because I feel like the storms in my life, because our stuff was kind of more, we didn't spend a lot of time in the scriptures. Maybe that was just me. Maybe that was just like my little neighborhood, but it was more kind of the community, which was great. Super great.
Sure.
But because we didn't spend so much time in like the actual doctrine of Christ, I feel like when the storms came, I got washed right away. I had no rock. You know, I was sitting on that sand, just waiting for it pretty much.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I feel like when we build on the rock, which is Christ and it's scripture, I want to give that to my kids, because then whatever storm comes, I know they will find the answers, and like the personal tutor that scriptures can be to you individually is so powerful. And that's the best thing I can give to my kids, because I won't be here for them always. I know Christ will be. And I know his words will be, you know? And so, so it is so funny when I have all these friends in this life from LA. So I always say I was like from partier to priestess because it was just such a drastic change, but never found more happiness.
So did you get caught up in the party scene? We don't have to go into details and stuff, but like, is that kind of what happened? Did you feel like you kind of lost yourself in LA?
Oh yeah, lost. I mean, I was searching for, like I said, validation with more fame, like more jobs, whoever I was dating, whoever had more clout and fame.
Gotcha.
That was my focus. That's what I thought mattered, you know, and money. Things like that. And so, but then like when I would date these guys, and they did have money, they loved to hold that over me. It was just like, well, I can take you here, do that. Like that mattered. And so it was so funny, because later I remember someone really successful was like, I'm surprised that you're not like a little bit more like material or that. And I'm like, I've already done all that. Served me zero. Could care less about that.
Went through it and you saw, you know what, this doesn't bring my happiness.
This is not true stable happiness. This is no rock. This is the sand.
It's the sand, for sure.
And again, because all that stuff, back to the validation, anything can be taken away from you. Your family, your job, all of that. What are the constants? You, God. That's it. You know, and that's what I mean. It's like you have to draw so deep from that well. What's going to serve that? The scriptures, looking back and forth, like the scriptures. So, like I said, I just love the scriptures.
So it sounds like almost you had to go through that in LA to help you appreciate
absolutely
God and why God means so much to you, because you probably wouldn't appreciate it as much had you not gone through that experience.
Absolutely. And you know, kind of with my dating story with my husband, we dated. I was such a Jersey chaser when he went to University of Utah. Because I'm like, I met him when I was in 6th grade, thought he was super cute.
Oh, so you've known him for a long time.
But kind of barely, but just kind of had a crush. He's 3 years older than me. And then he went on a mission. He went and played at the University of Utah. We like connected on Facebook because his profile picture had him in a cute little red jersey, So anyway, so we finally connected, and then we dated for 2 years. He was ready to get married. He was so good to me. Yeah. It's like my first real like relationship. And then I remember being like, surely there's gotta be something better than that. This is like easy peasy, right?
Yeah.
Like little did I know I was literally like had the best thing that had happened to me. So I remember like crying while we were dating, being like, God, I know he's like someone I should be with, but like, I can't do it. So I remember I literally called him on the phone, broke up with him because I was so classy like that. He still is like, I can't believe you called me after 2 years. And so I called him, we broke up. Man. I moved to LA. Like there, he got picked up by the Patriots. So he moved to New England.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And he was, bless his soul, he was so patient. Like he just would text me every once in a while, write me. I was awful to him. I was like, I'm not even attracted to him. Never going to happen. Like just the worst, right? And my husband's a whole other like inspiring story because he's pretty incredible, the stuff he's been through and his patience.
Yeah.
But in this story, he just was so patient. I went to LA dating anything and everything. And he just waited for me. And in fact, the guy I was dating at the time, my 2 grandmas had just died. I was devastated. And these guys were not helping me at all. And they weren't comforting, like any of it. They were just, well, like, we want to go out and do this. I was just devastated. This is the first time I dealt with death. He drove all the way down to LA, packed up in my entire apartment and moved me back.
Really?
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it took us a while later. So it was like a 4-year, broke up with him for 2 years, dated him 2 years, and then we got married. But by the time we got married, like he always says, he goes, God had told me you had potential, but like, I didn't know you could go from that to this. Dang. And so like, I always say to him, like, I know that was so hurtful and so hard, the things I had done and gone through, and you kind of had to witness it on the sideline, but he's like, I know you had to go through that. Wow. Like, because I don't think if you had, and we just got married that young, what a mess I feel like I would have been, Yeah, so I'm so glad I didn't just force myself to marry him.
Right.
Like I knew I was feeling those feelings for a reason.
Yep. Yeah. I'm a huge believer that, and I say this a lot, that life happens for us. And because we may not know why we're going through this hard time in the moment we're going through it, but it always leads to something that we've learned and we grow from it and we look back and go, man, just like you're saying, I had to go through that.
Yep.
It had to be the way it was in order for it to be this good now.
Oh, so true.
Right.
And I think even sometimes with our depressions or anxieties or addictions, sometimes are we going through that to empathize with someone else and help them later on their journey?
Yeah.
Because like I look back so many times in my life and I can connect the dots so easy now.
Yeah.
But when you're in the middle of it, it's so hard.
Yeah.
You're lost.
You're lost. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you can look back and go, man, that led to this and that led to this. Yeah.
And you feel guided the whole way when you do.
Yeah, I believe, I'll say this to my clients all the time, addiction, adversity is the wake-up call to your greatness.
I love that.
And it's so true, though. And when they're in the thick of it, they're looking at, I mean, I'm putting a needle in my arm, and I've been in prison, I'm doing this, and you're saying this is my greatness? I said, no, it's trying to wake you up to who you really are, because this isn't you.
So powerful.
Right?
Oh my goodness, for sure. I mean, sometimes, there are some people I know that they just kind of, like, I think even my kid, who knows, but like, there's just some people who can do it. But then there are some, maybe it's the really passionate people. Sometimes you got to hit rock bottom to find out who you are, what you're made of, and like what you're living for.
Yep.
Because like for me, I was living for all the wrong things.
Yeah.
I needed to go through things to find out what I was really living for. And I think if I hadn't gone through that, I don't think I'd be the parent I am to my kids. And I don't think, like, I'm so crazy open, honest with my kids.
I love it.
Because I want them, because I know it also will hit them when they're 21. But oh, mom's not perfect. She probably had some stuff going on. Like, I don't want to do the facade of like, let's pretend like she's perfect. And then 22 realize, no, mom's a mess.
And I want to point this out, that this is so amazing. And here's why. So I deal with a lot of kids, right? I've been doing this for 30 years, and a lot of younger kids, and they will share some pretty heavy stuff with me. Oh. And I'll always ask, have you shared that with your parents? And they say no. And I'm like, why? Well, my parents have never done anything wrong. Oh. I'm like, no, they have. They just haven't told you. They're trying to put on, no, I'm perfect, this and that. And again, I understand it. I'm not, no fault to the parent. They're doing their best. But I love that you're open, because I think the more open we are, we don't have to give gory details.
Absolutely.
But our kids need to know that, hey, I struggled and I went through this. So if you were going through it too, hey, you can talk to me about it. Absolutely. You can tell me, hey, Mom, someone, offered me to smoke pot today at school. And I just wanted to tell you that because I feel comfortable that you'll be okay with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Versus I ain't telling my mom that.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
Absolutely. I got chills as you're saying that, because I totally believe in that, because I felt, well, and there's been different examples of that, because I think for a long time I was like, maybe no, maybe yes. What's the right thing here?
Yeah.
And then I came upon, and then I've seen some examples of like, okay, these guys didn't let their kids know anything. And then later it all happened actually the same cyclical toxic family stuff.
Yeah.
And they didn't know any of that. And then I look at other examples where they let their kids so in the know and being like, hey, this is where I've been through. Here's the tools. And those kids were very less inclined to want to be involved in those things. Yeah. Like it's always like the younger kid, I feel like, of drug user siblings who was like, oh, I didn't even want to touch drugs. I saw what it did to my siblings,
exactly.
Yeah. And bring it back to the scriptures. But the Book of Mormon, Alma, he was like a rebel turned prophet. Yeah. Love him. He's like the OG. I love him. And so, because I relate so much to him, because he was like this rebel, like he just wanted nothing to do with any Christ followers. And then all of a sudden he was like, oh, Christ, this is a good thing. So, he had 4 sons, and how he handled them in his like last testimony, he was super open and honest about it. Yeah. And that just spoke so much to me, where it's like, okay, you know what? This is the way. I do think we need to be open and honest. And in fact, my 3 older kids were there for the birth of our last baby. And that might be so different for how people view it. But I mean, I feel like at the world we live in, everything's shoved in your face at the point. Like I said, whether it's on TV, music, or just people, maybe parents aren't as involved, so kids are talking about it at school or whatever. Yeah. And so it's like we have no choice but to be open and honest about what's out there being offered. And so it's like, even with the birth, like it was so cool. We talked about it. We're like, it looks this way, and then it's like a transformer. It looks something different, and then it goes back. We're just super open and honest. And then, they I was like, you can stand at my shoulder, whatever you want. But it was so cool, because I think sometimes, and obviously everything's age appropriate, but I think when you take the curiosity at such a young age, and it just becomes a natural thing. Yeah. It becomes so much, that's just how it is. Yeah. Like no big deal. Like for me, I feel like even like the sex talk or the drug, I never really got those actually. And that made me so much more curious, and things. So I do think just learning to open, and then you have this comfortable passage between your kids, like, oh yeah, no big deal. Like we talk about sex, once a month, because when we see it, when it is appropriate. Yep. And then they're not scared to come to you. They're not scared to ask those questions and what people are doing at school and stuff, because it's just so, my mom, we talk about that. That's human nature. That's possible. Like what ifs. Yeah. I love it. So that's a big thing, I think.
Yeah. Communication's the key.
Yeah, for sure.
So true. Love it. Love it. Love it.
Love communication.
Your baby's squeaking a little
I
bit.
know. He's so cute. I got to give him a little puppy.
Yeah. No. Oh, it's awesome. So beautiful.
Yeah. So so huge. Love that. Gotta keep. Oh, sorry. So huge. Got to keep that. The communication is a game changer. Relationships, especially with our kids. Let's communicate to them. Yeah. Let's show them that we're there for them. Let's show them that we're not perfect. Let's find tools. Yeah. Let's be better humans to help them be better humans, so that the world can be a little bit better.
Love it.
Let's stop the cyclical trauma. Yeah. And ignoring that bad things happen to us and all that.
Well said. Thank you. Fitness is a big part of your life, and it means a lot. And I think it also helps you probably be a better mom, a better wife, a better businesswoman.
Absolutely.
All the above, right?
All
so
the
talk
above.
about, were you that way younger? Was it cheerleading that kind of got you into like, hey, this fitness thing's a good thing for me?
Yeah, I loved fitness. I mean, I love cheerleading. So that was super empowering. Like, wow, I can hold a handstand. I can control this. I can get better at it. Like, it just kind of gave me such incremental goals to work for and see results and progression. Super empowering for a young kid. I think boy, girl, everybody should be involved with like gymnastics or cheerleading at a young age, just to feel that empowerment. Our bodies are such a blessing. Yeah. Our spirits live inside of these things. Yeah. So I think sometimes we treat them like trash, and we're just like, whatever, I'm going to eat and do whatever to it. It's no big deal. But like it's so important to have it be its best self in order for your spirit to be its best self. Yeah. Right. And so, I would say even high school, I kind of struggled with some food, some eating, Nothing huge, but like really hard to get comfortable in my skin and figuring out weight wise what weight I should be. So that was a struggle, I'd say, throughout high school. It wasn't until my first baby, having my body really ripped apart and being like, okay, I got to put this back together, and like, how do I do that? What does that look like? I want to be really present and available to my kids. So huge deal. I think what fitness can do is consistency is success. Like we were talking before.
Right.
If you can learn to be consistent every day, you can't go to the gym for 24 hours and all of a sudden look fitter the next day, right? It's just not how it works. So if you show up and can be consistent every single day, I think incredible for your body. That's where you're going to see results. Yeah. And B, you're showing your kids what it looks like to be habitual in that healthy habitual habits. Yeah. And consistent, because if you can be consistent in anything, you can be successful in anything, whether it's a business, whether it's fitness. And so I feel like sometimes just harnessing that first with fitness, because then that went into business. Because when I wanted to start a business, I was like, I don't know where to start. This is so overwhelming. Well, just take the next right step. Just do 20 minutes of what you think you can a day, just like with fitness, right? Yeah. And so
can you see the next step?
Yeah, can you see the next step? Right? I love it from the
Yeah, you did a post on that.
The fox, the mole, I would say it wrong. Fox, the boy, the mole, the fox.
Whatever.
Great book. Love it. Yeah. It's got so many good quotes.
It really does.
But as long as you can just see that next step. So fitness, I want my kids to know, like, you're in control of your body. You can't control a lot of things. And you can't even control your health sometimes. But you can control how you treat it. You can control how you talk to it. Yeah. This pregnancy was so hard, this last pregnancy. I think being pregnant and running a business, super humbled.
Oh my gosh.
Because I just was super out of it. And I was just telling my kids last night, because we were talking about humility. I was like, I was so humbled. And I'm like, but I am grateful for that, because as soon as they handed me that baby, I was just so grateful for what it is to have health and energy again.
Absolutely.
Like, what a gift this is. And I don't want to waste it. And I want my spirit to thrive. I want to help people. I want to do what I'm supposed to do. So therefore my body I need to be eating good. I need to be working out. I need to be sleeping right. I got to be good to it, because that's how we're going to be our best selves. I can't be dependent on caffeine. I can't be these things. I'm trying so hard to just really zone in,
Yeah, I love it. I've been into fitness too and taking care of my body, but I decided about 3 months ago to hire a personal trainer that I see 3 days a week. And it's been life-changing for me, just like getting me stronger than I've ever been.
It's amazing.
That kind of thing. And you just feel better. You have more confidence. I do. I have more energy. It really is. It's like a secret superpower.
Oh, for sure.
Right? If you'll, and again, I agree with you. Consistency is the key. Have you ever heard of the 21-90 rule?
Oh, no.
So the 21-90 rule basically states it takes about 21 days to create or break a habit.
Oh, okay.
Roughly, give or take a few days. 90 days to create a lifestyle. And so really that's what you're saying, is that consistency, eventually it just becomes what you do. Yep. Right? Fitness is part of what I do. It's part of my daily routine, just like brushing my teeth. Yep. Right? And so anyone listening to this, the key is to get through that first 21 days. If you can do that, you can start feeling like, hey, this is starting to feel more like a habit to me. And it's something I'm looking forward to. But that's what I was hearing you say. Oh,
for sure. Well, and grace, because for example, so wherever you are starting in your fitness habit, for mine, let's say it was after babies.
Yeah. He's all ready. Oh, he's a cutie. It's like, it's getting hot.
This is the first time he's ever made little peeps.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah, consistency. We've talked a lot about that. And again, I think that's why you're so good, again, at your business that you've created. And you created it with your mom, right? If I remember right.
Yes. Sorry.
She said yes, everyone, just so you know.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
So we did that. I might have to pull them out here in a second.
You're fine.
But we started with my mom. But sorry, just to finish up that fitness note, I think what happened with, we went to, when you're having a baby, your body's torn apart. You're not going to see results for a long time. I always give myself 9 months. Like, I know I'll have at least 9 months. Yeah. So sometimes it's entering it. You're not going to see results immediately.
Sure. Right.
But it's like the faith in the process. Yeah. Like, I know what I'm doing is going to give me results. And I know for the first 3 months after a baby, I'm like, man, there's just not a lot of difference. I've been doing it every day. But then all of a sudden I hit like 6 months. Oh my goodness, I'm starting to feel better. Yeah. By 9 months, for sure I feel back to normal. But if you ignore it and you just get hung up on the like, how do I look tomorrow? Have I lost 2 pounds?
Yeah.
It's just never gonna work. You gotta have perspective. You gotta have like a long-term goal.
Yeah. Right.
So for sure. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
Sorry, can you cut?
We can pause.
I'm like, cut him. Sometimes I'm so sorry.
No, don't be sorry. You're good.
If I hold him, he'll be fine.
Just gonna mark the time there. It's all good.
That's so cute.
What's his name?
Louis.
Louis.
King Louis.
Welcome to the show, Louis.
Sorry.
It's good to have you.
I know. Thanks.
Oh my
This is
gosh,
his
look at
3-week
how
birthday.
cute. Oh. That's why he was crying.
That is so
Now we know. I know. We would be at church, and my, we're holding the baby, and the baby just totally lets go, and everyone's looking around.
Looking at you.
It was the baby. I swear. I promise you, it was the baby.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Thanks for your patience.
Oh, you're totally good.
But
man, this is such a fun conversation. I could talk all day, honestly.
No,
but I do want to
you're so
get into your company, Melkit.
Melkit.
You created it with your mom.
Yes.
So talk about what it is for our listeners who may not know about it and why you decided to do something like this.
So my mom, I think it was it like 15 years ago, we read a book called Skinny Bitch. And I feel like it was like one of its pioneering. See, this was back to my food and my modeling this, right? It's all, it all makes sense now. But it was actually really an amazing book. And I feel like it was one of the first books that was like, hey, hormones and what's on your food, it matters, and it affects you from the inside.
Yeah.
And not only with food, but like your skin products. Like people are putting whatever. It's funny how as a society I feel like the 50s when they started just to can everything and like, this will last for 20 years. This is easier and cheaper.
Right.
Like forget the banana that lasts like a day. And so, I feel like we kind of reversed like in the 50s, and now we're kind of waking up to that. So I remember that book was really powerful. So my mom, we were looking for skincare, like clean skincare, and we could not find anything. And my mom has such an incredible knowledge of essential oils, and essential oils have been around for thousands of years.
Yeah, right.
Cleopatra was using them in her beauty regimen. Like they have such powerful properties. And I know some people are like, oh, essential oils aren't a real thing. They are a real thing. And they brought them to Jesus, for crying out loud, frankincense and myrrh, right?
There you go.
So they are so powerful. So she started to mix this, like the hand mix this in her kitchen. And then she gave it to each of us. We gave it to our friends. Like she was pretty much hand mixing it for the entire community. And people loved it. I remember being in LA. I was out. I went and got some really expensive, I think it was like La Mer. And I remember putting it on and being like, Mom, nothing touches your stuff. Like this is incredible. So that was a while. And then fast forward, I had a bunch of kids. I had 3 kids. And I just couldn't even think about doing that because when you have kids, it's like one foot in front of the other. Like
for sure.
And I feel like actually with each kid, your capacity grows. But man, like I if you would have told me after I had my first kid that I was running a business with my 4th, 5th, and 6th, I would have just about fell off the floor.
Like,
it seemed unimaginable, right?
Yeah.
And I think again, it goes to consistency. Like just continue to grow line upon line, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, Mom, this is amazing. And it's so funny when inspiration hits. And I don't know, maybe you're this way, but I know exactly where I am when like a riveting, inspirational thought. Yeah. Like I remember being
I agree.
exactly on a road turning into like almost in and out or something. And I remember being like, you need to push this forward. And I remember where the name came. I remember being in a Target parking lot. I'm like always out and about.
Right.
And I just remember exactly what I was looking at. And I don't even have a great memory. And so I knew we needed to push it forward. But man, did it seem overwhelming. How do you reverse engineer a homemade, recipe that was already so good? Like, was it going to be as good? It was daunting. But then I remember just being like, okay, I can do one thing a day. I can't think of the whole picture of everything that has to be done because I have no idea how to do it. But it was so neat to be able to go through this process of not knowing, because I feel like I have learned, like it's helped so many people. The cream is incredible, but starting a business has helped me grow as a human in so many ways. Yeah. Because like I'm such a creative. Like I love graphic design. That's what I went to school for. Love it. And I feel like constantly I've been told like, okay, well, you're good at the creative, but you have to know how to put wheels on this stuff. Like you have to know like the things that go around and bringing it back to Christ. Christ created the earth. Same thing. He was probably painting rainbows and clouds, but he had to know the wheels. You got to know
he had to know the ins and the outs.
All the chemistry and the engineering. I mean, so I feel like it's the same thing with that. And it has been so hard and yet so incredible. And I think just so fun to show my kids like, hey, you don't have to do everything by 20 or before kids. Sure. You have hopefully 100 years to continue to do all sorts of professions. I mean, listening to you, like all the things that you've done and grown through and evolved. And so I just always like to, especially to women, be like, don't ever limit yourself. Yeah. You have no idea what you could do. Maybe you're going to have one kid and you're going to be a mom. I know I always wanted to be a mom. That's my first, most important thing I wanted to do. I know I was put on this earth to do. But man, I didn't know that I could also be a CEO. Yeah. And maybe do both, and of course you got to find priorities and you got to be able to find the right time. But man, that never limit yourself. And then that kind of turns into kind of an off-road thing in our family, in our house. We have so much art and statues of a lion and a lamb. We talk about this constantly. This is like my main parenting tool. Okay. And we talk about, hey, some people are born a lion and some people are born a lamb, but that's not how you're supposed to stay. And then, tying in Christ, I look at Christ as the ultimate lion and lamb. Right? Like I think of him on the cross, like he could have broke loose those chains. What's a lion? A lion is bold. A lion is courageous. A lion is regal. A lion is a leader. What's a lamb? A lamb is humble. Is teachable. Meek.
Yeah, I love that.
All, forgiving, all these things. And I always look at as Christ, obviously, as the perfect example that he was a lion up on that cross. He chose to be a lamb at that moment. Right. Because that was his path and what God wanted for him and needed him to do for all of us. And so we talk about that as a parenting tool. Like some of my kids were born maybe more lambish and some born more lion. I'm so sorry, guys. No, this is like literally the first time he's ever made a peep. But some people are born more lion and lamb, but no, we're supposed to be both. Yeah. And there's been just so many thoughts where it's like to find that perfect balance in us. So sometimes I was born more lion and I've had to really look hard for my lamb. And I think sometimes we embolden people being like, oh, he just wears the pants in that relationship, or he just walks, or she's just so, what do you call a pushover or whatever, or like she's easygoing. And I'm like, no, we got, there's both gifts for both of us. Yeah. And we got to you can cultivate deep. Both. I mean, that's how you're going to be your best self. Yeah. And that's how you're going to find, there are times to be a lion and there's times to be a lamb. I know some people go around the dinner table and be like, what was your rose and thorn? Well, we go around the dinner table and we're like, what was your lion and lamb moment? Where was the time you needed to be bold and strong? And when was your moment this week where you needed to be forgiving and meek? Wow. I mean, I think the same goes with a business. Yeah. There's times you got to do both. There's times we're humbled. And there's times where you get to be the lion and you get to do the most incredible things. And how many times have you been humbled in your profession, right? A lot. But you grow the most. Daily. Right? Yeah. And you got to forgive people. That's how relationships thrive. You got to be the lion sometimes and set a boundary for yourself. Mm-hmm. Stop the toxic relationship, or, hey, I refuse to be treated this way. Yeah. But then you have the moment where you're like, I need to be more forgiving. I need to be softer here. Yeah. So there's just a time and moment for both. And I'm kind of sick of seeing people just think, that's just how he is. My marriage has been like this. He treats me this way. And so another 50 years, whatever, we've already done it for 50, And it's like, no,
I agree. And I hear this a lot from my clients. It's like, this is just how I am. Yeah. This is who I am. And it's like, it's a cop-out. It really, truly is. Because changing that will be hard, but you can change it.
It's the hardest.
Yeah. I have a quote on the outside of my door here, and I heard it on Chris Williamson's podcast. And it's by Dipan Parmar, I think is how you say the name. I'm sorry if I got it wrong. But it's the magic you're looking for is in the work you're avoiding.
So true.
Right? And I just really, that hit me so hard when I heard that. I'm like, that is so accurate. Not only for my clients, but for me too. I'm like, absolutely. Yeah, okay, I'm avoiding this work, but I want this magic over here that would give me, but I'm just avoiding it. Well, do the work and you'll get it. It's really what you're saying. Oh, for sure. And I think part of that is just being a realist too, right? Are we looking in a real mirror? Are we really seeing our goods and our bad? Yeah. And it's not so much like you have to be so hard on yourself and never forgive yourself for your mistakes, because that's not what we want. But you need to own it. You need to see it. Yeah. Don't pretend it doesn't exist, you know, because once you can be like, oh, I have a problem. I'm dependent on this or that, or I don't talk to my spouse nice enough, or whatever it is, then you can be like, okay, how am I going to do that better? And then that's the beauty of being able to say sorry. That's the beauty of repentance. Yeah. But to repent, you have to have the humility. You have to have the recognition.
you have to acknowledge it, and you have to be able to look and think, do I want to grow through this? Do I want to be better? Or do I want to continue this cycle? Because the more you ignore and lie to yourself, you're just going to keep going. But the moment you look at yourself and see that flaw, give yourself grace, but then you work on that magic, oh man, you're just going to grow. And you're going to help so many other people along the way.
Wow.
I love that. That's so good.
No, this is good stuff.
Yeah. we went a lot of different roads.
I know, didn't we? But that's what I love. We had no plan. We're just going for it.
So
and
funny.
I love it. And everything you've said so far has been so fantastic. I love it.
Oh,
this is great.
It's so fun.
Like if people want to know more about your company, what's, and maybe reach out to you and to get to know you better or whatever, what's the best way for someone to do that?
You can go to melkit.com, melkit.com, and you can read all the benefits. So we have 4 products. The essential oils are in there, and the essential oils help with a variety of skin ailments. That's what's so powerful. Like, I've had people be like, hey, I've been in chemo treatments. I've got these chemo burns. Nothing's helped but this.
Wow.
So fulfilling and rewarding to see it actually bring comfort to people. And kind of, back to the hormones and chemicals, our main thing is we want it to be natural and safe. Your skin is your largest organ on your body. So really, your skincare matters. You don't want to be putting disruptors, hormonal disruptors. Yeah. Hormones are out of control, hard to deal with anyways. Let's not feed it, mold and like horrible things. So I think you can use these products. It helps with everything. It's natural and clean, so you can feel so good about it. And, for your podcast, you put Todd Inspires at the promo code. You'll get 30% off if anybody wants to try it.
Okay.
And then I think you can email us, my Instagram, or email us at hello@melkit.com. But great. We'd love for people to try it. It's so good. We have a baby milk, a he milk, a body milk, and a face milk. So there's something for everybody, especially when you get these pure little babies. You want to feel good about what you're putting on their skin. Yeah. You don't want to introduce them to like more chemicals.
Yeah. What is
things.
this? Yeah.
So that was huge for us.
You brought me some today, by the way, too.
Yes.
I'm going to start using it.
Try it.
I
totally.
need it.
There's no synthetic dyes or fragrances. So it just smells like really spa-like. Oh, my mom just did an incredible job, and it really is an incredible product. Yeah. We got tons of before and afters of just sunburns.
Yes. I went through your site and all the testimonials, and it's amazing.
It's been so amazing.
It truly is amazing stuff. And it's all above board, and it's just again
all natural, clean.
But it just also it kind of mirrors your life now.
No,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I know you're not perfect or this and that, but you know what I mean? Like, you've got stuff you're doing, and just the way you're trying to raise your kids, and how your faith and family and fitness and all that means so much to you, and it shows because, you got a beautiful family, and you're doing great things in this world.
You're so nice. Thank you. I know if we look at what we're going through and we see what we can be, and sometimes we need to see ourselves through God's eyes, because God knows our potential.
Right.
The eagle eye perspective of what we're doing, and look at some of the hard things that we go through and turn those into strengths, and help and hold other people together, and teach our kids that they can get through hard things too, and they can help it all, and teaching your body to try to be as clean, and giving it all the love you need, and treating it right. Treating and talking to yourself nicely. I know, I just feel like we can, that's my passion. I know we can be better. Like, I just want to continue to learn and grow, find the lion and the lamb in us.
Yeah, I love that.
Use clean products.
Heck yeah.
Because that helps too. Don't mess with your hormones.
Yeah. Love it.
Yeah, I think I totally believe in change and a better tomorrow. Yeah. And that's what our kids are growing up into. That's what your grandkids are going to get.
Yep.
So let's do what we can to break the cyclical, toxic stuff, and do it.
I love it. Thank you. You've already said some really profound things today. If there's someone listening to us right now, listening to you, who's in a dark place, they're struggling, they're not sure what to do with life or whatever, what would you tell that one person listening to you right now?
Oh, that's a good, profound question. I think one of the things is when we're all, I call it like my closet of Gethsemane. When we have those moments when we're in our closet and we feel so alone.
Yeah.
It's usually my closet. I don't know, but everyone's different.
Sure.
And you just feel so alone. You're overcome with fear and anxiety, and really the path to growth is lonely. It's very lonely. And I think we can look at Christ as a perfect example, how alone he was, and some of the great figures. It's not an easy path.
Yeah.
But just know that just one foot in front of the other. Like, it will get better.
Yeah.
It will pass. There's always going to be a tomorrow. Just hang on. Just hang on a little longer. Look for light. And, like, never give up. I think that's the whole thing, is never give up.
Yeah.
And like, even too, I think of Christ in Gethsemane, even he wanted the bitter cup to pass. It was too much for him to bear. And he had this all knowing knowledge. And so know that's how your Savior felt.
Yeah.
It was too much for him to bear, and just to kind of think of him and just know that there is a tomorrow. And that's what I would tell my kids. It's like, never give up. I never want them to get to a point where it's just too much to bear, that they have something unique to offer to this world, that people need them, that they are here for other people to help them. You're significant. You're so much bigger than you think you are. And people know and love you, and to never forget your eternal perspective of your majesty, really, And so just hang on. That's what I would say.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Beautifully said, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah. I mean, I would echo the same words you're saying. I mean, never give up. I mean, there's a statement that I love. It's, the greater the darkness, the greater the light.
Wow.
The greater the sinner, the greater the saint.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're in a dark place right now and you're struggling, one, you're not alone. I've been there. Kamille's been there. Everyone's been there.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, again, it is that sometimes I got to just take one step forward. That step might be calling someone and saying, dude, I'm struggling. Can I talk? Can I bend your ear for a minute?
Yep.
Or can I come see you? Can I come cry on your shoulder?
Yep.
Right? It's sometimes that's the step.
Yep.
Call someone, because if you're telling yourself you're alone, you're lying, because you're not.
Yep.
I promise you, there's one person you can call, and they will help you.
Absolutely.
Right? So yeah, I just echo what you said. I think it was beautifully said. And again, know that you're not alone. And when you start reaching out, calling, whatever, you start witnessing a little bit more light in your life.
Yep. Absolutely.
And
people want to serve. And people want to help you. Like, people want to be involved. Not everyone always knows what you're going through.
For sure.
You got to communicate, like put that out there.
Yeah. Because we think, oh, no one likes me, or no one wants to talk. Well, people may not even know you're struggling.
Absolutely.
Sometimes we have to let people know. I have a statement, and then we'll wrap up here. Probably got to change the baby, feed the baby, all that stuff. Of a client that said this here, and it was so profound. And I thought, I'm going to memorize this. And here's what he said. I tried to find myself I could not see. I tried to find my God eluded me. I tried to find my brother, I found all three.
Aww.
Right?
Incredible.
And there it is. I promise you, if you reach out, if you go try to help someone today, even though you're hurting, you'll find all three. You'll find yourself, you'll find God, and you will find your brother.
Oh, absolutely.
One that will have your back.
For sure. And you know what? And I think too, when you're having like this type of promptings or good thoughts, whether it's to reach out to someone, don't ignore those.
Absolutely.
Reach out. And, I think it was someone who was like, one of the most successful things I do is, as soon as I wake up, my eyes wake up, I think of 3 people to send like a gratitude text to.
Awesome.
Super powerful.
That's powerful.
Because maybe sometimes those words, I know there's been times people have offered me words that were my life raft at the moment. Like, someone what I lived through. That's what got me through the day.
Yeah.
And so don't ignore those. Like, any positive thing that comes in your mind, don't hide that.
Yeah.
Share it. If you feel a generous thought, say it.
Yeah.
And
let your light shine, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally. So that's really we're here to help. That's why we're here.
Yeah.
We're here to help each other. And don't give up. Don't give up on yourself, because there's so much within us. I don't think we even realize our potential. I think, what do they say? You use a tiny, small percentage of your brain.
Something like that. Yeah.
Compared to like 90% of it's just pretty much dormant.
Yeah.
Can you imagine what we are truly capable if we could unlock that?
Totally.
So have faith in yourself.
Wow. Well, this has been fun. It's been a great conversation. Truly, this has been very inspiring for me to hear from you.
Oh, it's been amazing to hear from you.
I love the way you live your life. I love the way you carry yourself. I love the way you treat your people, especially your family, and how you're very vocal and open about your faith. And it really is something that we need to see. You are a light that shines bright.
Oh, you're so kind. Thank you, Todd. I feel the same about you.
Thank you.
I mean, all your podcasts and all the wonderful people you bring on.
Thank you.
Your story is incredible.
Thank you.
It gives us all strength and inspiration that we can get through it.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on the show. And to everyone listening to this right now, please reach out and check out Kamille's product. We'll have all the links in the show notes, so you can get right there, and we'll put a promotional code. You get a little discount, which is really cool.
So fun.
But thank you for tuning in. Again, thanks to my sponsors. I love you guys for believing in me, and you make this possible. And Kamille, one last thank you to you, you and your beautiful family.
Thank you.
Happy holidays and Merry Christmas, all that fun stuff.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
That's right.
Okay.
Thanks for having Louie here.
Absolutely. Louie, we love you too, buddy. Okay. Take care, everyone.
Thanks.